Lando Norris is a sweet, non-confrontational guy who looks like he stole his appearance from a curly toy poodle, and, at the same time, is a driver for the British McLaren team straight from the foggy Albion. A world karting champion, Formula Renault Euro Cup champion, Formula 3 champion, and now the 2025 Formula 1 World Champion. Sounds like the perfect role model and an object of admiration for millions of F1 fans.
Yeah! Now that's what I'm talking about!
But for some reason, both among the CIS audience and worldwide, Norris has noticeably fewer fans than Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc, or Alonso, while the number of haters is, if not equal, then not much lower than the number of fans. As you may have already guessed, our poodle has certain flaws that prevent him from becoming a true fan favorite.
Pills. He will try and mix stuff into my food and my drinks.
Kind of like a dog.
Kind of like a dog.
Lando began his Formula One career in 2019 and almost immediately got brutally sent into the garage thanks to a light touch from Lance Stroll, while McLaren themselves were demonstrating a higher level of circus performance than Scuderia Ferrari. Canada, Germany, Belgium, a triple DNF due to technical failures. And in Mexico, the guys literally forgot to bolt on one of Lando's wheels. Looking at all this, and remembering how the current season ended, it becomes clear that McLaren definitely has a racing philosophy borrowed straight from Maranello, one they try very hard to hide. Despite all the setbacks, Lando himself didn't stand still. He trained relentlessly, and in 2020 took his first career podium, getting his revenge on the agile Stroll. But in 2021, the first alarming bell rang. At the Sochi Autodrome, Lando was finishing the final laps with Mr. Hamilton right on his tail when he suddenly decided to test the curbs. And then, just 2 laps before the finish, went off to patrol the exit of Turn 4. At the time, no one paid much attention to it. McLaren drew conclusions and gradually introduced more and more effective upgrades. This, by the way, is one of the few things that distinguishes them from Ferrari. Scuderia has lacked the ability to build cause and effect relationships for about 20 years now. Their upgrades usually just make the red tractor even slower.
From the sprint race, we made these changes and the car was terrible after that.
2024, the Papaya team finally started to look like a proper racing outfit. Lando Norris suddenly exposed his first major weakness: driving errors, especially under pressure. Yes, many drivers make mistakes, but Lando did it so often that between his failures, George Russell wouldn't even have time to finish his morning grooming routine. Out of 9 pole positions in a season, the Brit bottled 6 of them. That's Lando Norris level execution. And that's without even mentioning the current season, where he pulled off such schizophrenic stunts that if you painted the car a different color, you could easily say, "Oh, that must be Stroll messing around," or "Maybe Lawson forgot where the asphalt is." But no, that's Lando mowing the lawn in Japan. At the next Bahrain Grand Prix, he got a penalty for incorrect parking, and right after that, found a wall in Jeddah. For a few races, he seemed to mentally recover, but not for long. In Canada, with 3 laps to go, Lando did something incomprehensible and ended up losing all his points. Okay, maybe Norris isn't the most consistent driver, but at least he's a nice guy and a pleasant personality. Maybe that used to be true, but after several incidents, everything changed. The second problem of the British driver is his contradictory statements, which is exactly why Lando doesn't resonate with many people. In 2024, when Norris lost first place almost everywhere possible, including the Hungarian Grand Prix, Oscar Piastri won that race and Lewis took 3rd. The 7-time world champion decided to praise the McLaren drivers, only to receive an absolutely kindergarten-level reaction from Lando.
Whew, you guys are fast. You know, you had a fast car 7 years ago. 7 years ago. You had it. You had a quick car. You made the most of it. No, it's us. I wasn't complaining. I was just complimenting your car.
And the issue isn't even what Lando says. Many drivers trash talk. What matters is what comes after. Lando either apologizes or doubles down. These statements create pressure. And, as we've already seen, Lando doesn't handle pressure well. The clearest example of instant karma is Brazil 2024. A couple of races earlier, after his second win of the season, Lando dropped a quote that was clearly a jab at Max Verstappen.
Well done. Well done. Oh, very good, right?
Simply lovely, huh?
Calling that move reckless would be putting it mildly. For those who need it spelled out, Verstappen literally has a bull symbol on his car, a giant warning saying, "Don't mess with me." If that's still not enough, there's a lion on his helmet, king of the beasts, leader of the pride, all that. Everything about him screams, do not provoke this guy. But as you might expect, that didn't stop Lando. On race weekend, Norris started from pole and, in his usual fashion, lost the start to George Russell, while Verstappen began the race from 16th. While Lando was stuck behind Russell, Max was slicing through the field and after 11 laps was already up to 6th. By the time the T-Squad headed to the pit lane, the Dutchman was already second. On lap 30, Lando finally passed that poor Mercedes, but apparently forgot who he was. This is champion Lando Norris, and right now, his era is beginning. So first, he lets Russell back through, and after the restart, once again, cracks under pressure and runs straight off the track. Max wins the race and shuts Lando down with his signature move.
You know what that is? Simply lovely.
After something like that, any self-aware person would admit failure, but not Lando Suicide Mission Norris. In the post-race interview, he claimed Max just got lucky.
Just that's life sometimes. You take a gamble, it's paid off for them. It's not talent or, it's just luck. So
Absolutely. Just like in 2025, when Max was lucky enough to win 5 of the last 8 races. McLaren had nothing to do with it, of course. You saw nothing. By the way, McLaren influenced Lando Norris's championship more than Lando himself, and here's why. After Oscar Piastri cleanly passed Lando in Monza, McLaren didn't like it. They were afraid of losing the Constructors' Championship and decided to prioritize Lando because he was the more experienced driver. On one hand, that sounds logical. On the other, considering how often Norris makes mistakes, it raises some serious questions. Did they really expect Oscar to stay behind Lando forever? When Piastri started dominating the first half of the current season, while Lando kept making errors, Zak Brown quickly changed his tune, claiming there was no number 1 driver. Symbolically, his hypocrisy was on full display at the same Monza race. Oscar was right behind Lando when the mechanics ruined Norris's pit stop, allowing Piastri to pass, only for the team to ask him to give the position back. Yes, it's unfortunate for Lando, but that was a racing incident, and Oscar shouldn't have had to do that. In the end, Lando gained 3 more points than Oscar. And if you remember how the championship ended, McLaren essentially gifted Norris the title with those decisions. Maybe I'm exaggerating slightly, but the second half of the season looked like Zak Brown was literally holding Lando Sonny Norris by the hand and walking him to the championship. And the final nail in the coffin is Lando Norris's public image. Whether you know it or not, Lando has a girlfriend, Margarita Corsero. An interesting person, by the way. She previously dated João Felix, who, like Lando, also struggles with execution. But that's not even the point. Here's Lando with his girlfriend, and here's Lando celebrating a win with his male friend. And this isn't the one-off moment. I've seen plenty of videos where Lando behaves oddly. I'm not judging anyone for their orientation. Quite the opposite. If Lando ever came out, I'd finally have a reason to cover my entire room in Lando Norris posters and fully support him in 2026.
I'm gay! I'm gay! I'm down!
But what's the point for your average anime-loving hikikomori to root for Norris when there's a muscular alpha Verstappen on the grid? Open question. Right now, being a Lando fan is like being in a codependent relationship with a cheating woman. You keep convincing yourself she's actually good. She just gave away her pole position a couple of times. If I had to describe Lando Norris in one word, it would be inconsistency. In his head, in relationships, and on track. In 2026, I wish Lando the strength to overcome all his weaknesses, finally drop this entire circus, and move into a gingerbread house with Zach Brown.